Here they come. Welcome. Welcome to the webinar, and hello. We've got the chat going already. We have California, New Hampshire, the Big Apple, Peoria, Chicago, San Luis Obispo, Houston, Omaha. Oh, they're coming in from everywhere. Welcome, everybody. It is
Costa Rica.
wonderful to have you here. We hope that you have had a great summer, and we are very thrilled to wrap up our summer webinars with our dear friend and Chief of Everything Officer, Lisa Olson. Joan's going to tell you a little bit more about Lisa shortly, so I would like to just review a few logistics with you before we get started today. Joan and Lisa are going to speak for about 40 minutes, and then we will have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. You can submit your questions to Lisa or Joan during the webinar, or hold them until the end of the interview by using the chat. That same area that you're all saying hello in, yes. Okay, and then please keep in mind that we may not be able to answer everyone's questions today, as we have many attendees. Another record-breaking month. We have over 4,100 attendees registered for the live event today, so lots of you already logging in. We do have a handout today, so if you haven't seen that, you can get that at officedynamics.com/handout. Our webinar administrator will assist me by putting that in the chat, but if you haven't already downloaded your handout, you can officedynamics.com/handout. And if you need to log off early today or can't for some reason watch the full webinar with us, we will be sending a replay following today's webinar to each of you, and as well as anyone who couldn't make, if you missed something or you just want to catch up on all this great information one more time, you can do that by watching the replay at your convenience. And we will have a certificate of attendance that will be emailed within about 24 to 48 hours of the completion of this webinar. So you can watch for that in your inbox before the week's end. Okay, now I would like to introduce Joan Burge. She is a pioneer in training and development administrative profession since 1990. As the founder and CEO of Office Dynamics International, Joan Burge has been on a mission to improve the quality of work life for assistants. And she provides the necessary tools that assistants and executives need to be successful in the workplace. Joan was the first to venture into administrative-specific depth training and continues to be a pioneer in the industry. Joan is an accomplished author with 5 books for assistants, a professional speaker, consultant, and corporate trainer. Office Dynamics International is a global industry leader providing high-performance, sophisticated executive and administrative assistant training, earning the respect of premier clients like Cisco, AT&T, Humana, Sunoco, Procter & Gamble, Nationwide Insurance, Abbott Labs, Sandals Resorts, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Welcome, Joan and Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine. Everyone, oh, I'm excited. This is our end of summer webinar. It doesn't seem possible. And I am just thrilled, first of all, that all of you are here. I love watching the chat box and seeing everyone check in and say hello from all over the world. Germany, I saw, Costa Rica, wow. It's incredible. I am thrilled to have Lisa Olson as our guest today. Lisa is top-notch in so many ways, and I know that you're going to love her. Lisa has been a good friend of ours for several years. She is a business colleague. Gosh, she's amazing. She's a speaker. She's an author. She's been a premier executive assistant. Let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. Lisa advocates continuous learning and encourages administrative professionals to expand their potential, take initiative, and practice being relationship engineers. She has a passion for bringing out the best in others. Lisa has been associated with the Office Dynamics team for over 10 years. Wow, Lisa, we were young then, huh? We still are. We've got
We
a
still
lot of
are. Yeah,
time
high
yet.
five, high five.
High five. Where she is a certified trainer and speaker. Yes, Lisa has taught many of our programs, our World Class Assistant program, our Star Achievement Series program. She is the co-founder of a part-time training and speaking business, Admin to Admin, which allows her to share her passion for continuous personal and professional development. Lisa's successful career as a senior executive assistant spans over 20 years. Currently, she is the executive coordinator for the Sacramento region at Dignity Health and supports the senior vice president of operations, the regional community board, and leads the administrative team. Lisa also is going to be one of our many wonderful speakers at our 23rd Annual Conference for Administrative Excellence here in Las Vegas in October. And I just love her topic. She is going to be speaking on how to think like Leonardo da Vinci. And today she's going to give us a sneak peek at many of the concepts, or I should say some of the concepts that were in depth at our conference. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Hello, all
Wow.
of you revolutionary assistants out there.
I am so
Awesome to be
happy.
here.
Yes, isn't it great to see these wonderful admins from all over the world?
Yes, yes, I'm amazed. They're just coming in from everywhere. Hello to all of you. Hello in Cyberland. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Joan. Pleasure to be here.
Well, you're welcome. Well, I thought it would be good for you to start off by giving everyone some background on Leonardo da Vinci. I don't think we really know the full breadth and depth of his genius. And also, really, why thinking like him is revolutionary for assistants.
Absolutely, yes. And it's interesting that the title of today's webinar is How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, not how to paint like Leonardo da Vinci. I know there's probably many of you that are beautiful artists, but this is about his thinking process, not necessarily how to learn to paint like Leonardo. But really it would take an encyclopedia to do justice and give you the full scope of Leonardo da Vinci's accomplishments. He was so much more than a Renaissance painter. He really is called the patron saint of independent thinkers. You know, we know him for his beautiful paintings, the Mona Lisa, the Annunciation, of course, the Last Supper. But believe it or not, he was also an inventor. And he had just these amazing notebooks, and he had drawings and plans for things like a flying machine, a helicopter, the extendable ladder, which is obviously still being used in fire departments today, the bicycle, snorkel, the world's first revolving stage, canal locks. We see, you know, the Panama Canal, and that was Leonardo's original drawings and concepts for that. He really is considered the pioneer of automation, and he pioneered the discipline of modern comparative anatomy. We've probably all seen that famous drawing, right, where the man is outstretched with his arms, and there's this huge schematic. I would show it to you, but it's a little bit risque, and so otherwise I would put the picture up for you. But he was the first to draw the body in cross section, and the first how old a tree is by the number of rings. And he just had this amazing, curious approach to life and how he viewed the world around him, and that was revolutionary. And I think we can learn much from him as assistants in the way we approach how our roles and responsibilities and the things that we do on a daily basis. Believe it or not, but on his resume, in 1482, he had applied to a position with the Regent of Milan, and his objective that he put on the top of his resume was, "I wish to work miracles." I just think that that is just absolutely wonderful. And then he had this long list of things that he would be able to do. But just to give you an example of the type of thinker that he is or was, Bill Gates, back in 1994, I think, paid $30.8 million for some of Leonardo's journal pages. So if Bill Gates thinks he's a revolutionary thinker, then you know, I guess there's something we can learn from him as well. But he just has had an inquisitiveness and an insatiable curiosity about life and the world around him that he was constantly asking questions. And I think there's a direct relationship with the world of the assistant as well, and what we can learn from him, from how he approached life.
So I guess the idea is, I'm just trying to connect the dots here for our audience, because our theme this year conference is the Revolutionary Assistant, and really thinking about in terms of how assistants can be revolutionary. So the goal is to think differently by using some of the things that you're going to share with us today, which then would create an assistant to be revolutionary in her workplace as well as in her or his own role or profession.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think sometimes as assistants, and I know I am guilty of this as well sometimes, is we come in and we think, okay, I have to get this, and this done. And rarely do I find that I can look at something and start asking myself questions about, okay, I've been doing this basically the same way for, a long time. Is there a different way to do it? Is there a more streamlined way to do it? Maybe if I take 10 minutes and focus on asking myself some questions, and that's what made Leonardo's approach to his thinking so interesting, is that it wasn't about finding always the right, about asking the question. Like, for example, some of the questions he would ask would be things like, why does the thunder last longer? Why do we see the lightning first, but we don't hear the thunder until later? I mean, that's how he thought. How do various circles of water from around the spot which has been struck by a stone, why does it trickle out? How does a bird sustain itself in the air? He just constantly had that type of thinking. And as I've been preparing for this webinar, I've been trying to do that, in my daily role at the office, and it's been really interesting because I'm finding that it's helped me to think differently about how my space is set up, how I'm managing and approaching and triaging my emails. Am I being efficient enough? Are there different ways that I could be doing things? So it's really opened my brain up a little bit, and I'm really enjoying that process. It's been fun. It's been really fun.
That's really great. So we'll get into the meat of the program, because I know you have a lot of really good information to share today. So I was really intrigued when I was reading your write-up for conference and the different points you're going to speak about at our conference. One that I was really intrigued by was something called confusion endurance.
Yes.
So I'm confused.
I'm confused. We're so confused.
Endurance.
Yeah, it's in the most simplistic terms and definition, what that is all about is it's a way to develop your Da Vincian powers by sharpening our senses in the face of paradox and confusion. So in other words, to actually embrace that creative tension that results when we're feeling like a ping pong ball with so many different things going on at the office. We're stressed, or we've got 5 different meetings we have to get on the calendar with 15 different people, or we're preparing for I'm in the middle of preparing for a big board retreat. We've got a retirement celebration we're planning, all these different things going on. And so it's about rolling up your sleeves when presented with a problem, or to which the solution is not always readily apparent. And as opposed to avoiding, procrastinating, getting anxious, or just shutting down. And, you know, I've thought a lot about this as, again, preparing for this whole idea of confusion endurance, and it's fascinating because as assistants, embracing confusion endurance can really set you apart. Many assistants, you know, don't see the value in a little creative tension. So, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
Leonardo saw everything in life as, and in a paradox. So, for example, let's take the whole idea of joy and sorrow. Is it possible to feel joy and sorrow at the same time? And this is how Leonardo approached things. He would say, okay, well, if I feel joyful here, but this brings me some sorrow, what's the connection, and how do I work through that creative tension that I'm feeling? For assistants, taking it down to a different level, think about strengths and weaknesses. A lot of times, you know, we have to focus on, okay, what are your, and we were talking earlier, Joan, about the interviewing process, and a lot of times we'll ask that question, right? Well, tell me your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Leonardo, with this whole notion of confusion endurance, would say, okay, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? How are they related? They're not two separate things. A lot of times our strengths are there's a direct correlation to our weaknesses. So we have to stop and think about, okay, don't get all stressed out because we feel like we've got these weaknesses. Instead, the confusion endurance aspect would be, okay, I don't want to have any weaknesses as an assistant, right? And I'm feeling a little angst about that. That's okay. It's okay to have that confusion endurance. You know, the endurance part comes from really looking at that list of weaknesses and going, all right, how can I turn them into strengths? What's the relation between the strengths that I know I have, the weaknesses I think I have? I'm going to embrace that creative tension about that and focus on the relationship between them. And I know it's kind of a sort of an obtuse, you know, principle to think about, but it's really, really interesting because a lot of times we just don't take the time to focus on what's the relationship between the paradoxes that we feel in the workplace. And we have to give ourselves the opportunity, as we were talking about earlier, Joan, to incubate. Sometimes the greatest geniuses accomplish more when they work less. And that's where we have the opportunity to really think about that confusion endurance and give ourselves time, you know, to understand it, embrace it, and find ways to embrace the paradox or embrace the confusion or the change that might be going on in the workplace. That would be another great, you know, a great topic as far as this whole confusion endurance thing. You know, change can be scary, and lots of things are going on in the workplace with mergers and acquisitions and restructuring. What do we do with that? That's a paradox. That can be confusing. Is it better to procrastinate, not focus on it, not look at it, not touch it, or kind of embrace that tension that comes from that and be willing to really open up yourself to options that can come out of it?
So it's interesting. I'm just you're thinking as you're.
I get so excited about all of this because it just gives us an opportunity to like you say, just think differently. And you know, this whole idea of incubating and giving ourselves time to step away from the desk. And Leonardo did that. We were chatting earlier, Joan, and when Leonardo painted, he would sometimes get comments from the people that he was working for if he was painting a big mural or something, and they would say, wait, where are you going? And he would paint intensely for about an hour. And then come back after incubating and having time to reprocess, re-energize, and embrace whatever creative tension he was feeling with the painting, and allow himself time to come back and get back to it again. So sometimes our bosses may not be 100% on board with us having incubation time, but it definitely helps us as assistants, and I'm an advocate for it.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's something an assistant has to take the initiative on.
Yes.
And do it. So, you know, I think what could happen, I don't know, tell me if this is true, that maybe sometimes when there's a lot of everything that's going on, we try too hard to straighten it all out, and instead we just get more overwhelmed versus,
exactly.
like you said, step away, which I know how I relate to that is sometimes when I've been writing and working for quite a while or creating a new program or whatever, I get up from my desk and have to go step away, and kind of like you said before, I know it just naturally, some thoughts will start to come and then I can come back to it. So maybe for assistants, when they're feeling like they actually need to work harder and dig into it more to try to straighten out the confusion,
yes.
maybe then what you're saying is step away from it for a while, go take 5 minutes and get away.
Yes, as soon as you feel that creative tension come on, that's the time to allow yourself the incubation period, you know. And here's a great quote from Da Vinci. It says, he counseled this, quote, "It is well that you should often leave off work and take a little relaxation, because when you come back to it, you are a better judge," unquote. Judge of what? You know, for him it was his art, it was his creative process. For us, it would be our processes, you know, projects, project management, how we're dealing with our boss, you know, that's a perfect example, right? Maybe you're feeling that things aren't going swimmingly with your executive or your manager, or you know, and you're just getting really, really frustrated, and it's hard. That's the exact time when you feel that, to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling that tension, I'm feeling that I need to exercise some Leonardo confusion endurance here, and step away, and then start asking the questions, the whys, the hows, the whats, you know. Where is this generating from? What is the real issue underlying the problem I have with my boss or my executive? Instead, you know, I know you probably hear it too, Joan, in your experience, but a lot of times, you know, we hear, well, my boss won't do this, my boss won't do that, I can't get my boss to do this, I can't get my boss to do that, and they'll talk about it more than they want to think about it. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is very interesting.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah, because that just came yesterday. I was in California giving a speech to a group of administrative professionals and allowed some question time at the end, and one of the assistants, kind of the typical question, I have 2 senior to do it A, B, C, D. Then later the other one comes over and says, do it D, A, C, B. She says, who am I supposed to listen to? I said, let them duke it out. It's like, she says, because I do it this way, then they tell me they want it this way. And I said, what you really need to do is let them, you know, think, like you said, kind of think about it, like there is a solution, there is an answer, and she was just struggling with, well, in a way that she doesn't have the right to do that. Well, why not? So even questioning yourself, I think, in terms of why do I think I don't have the right to go to these 2 executives and say, here's a project, you see me doing it like option A, you want option B, that's a conflict. Now, I would love for the 2 of you to have a conversation and come to an agreement and let me know when you've made a decision. But assistants don't feel they have the right to say that.
Right. So it's easier to go in the break room. It's easier to grab your fellow always go in the break room or downstairs to the cafeteria and talk about it amongst yourselves, which can be helpful, but not effective, really. The person you need to really have that conversation is first yourself as the assistant, right, dealing with it, and then second, exactly, with the executives that are being at the root of the issue. Yeah, I think Leonardo, that's a great point, Joan, is Leonardo was all about getting to the underlying issue, the underlying question. He asked question after question. It wasn't necessarily focusing on the right answer. Instead, it was a shift towards asking, is this the right question?
Oh, wow.
That is a very, very important difference, right? Sometimes we focus more on getting to the right answer. Well, it's more about, is this the right question? How are my bosses understanding what their priorities are, and how is that affecting me? What is the best strategy to have to discuss with them this and get to the bottom of this obstacle, this question? Perfect example would be, remember the story from, the emperor's new clothes and how the emperor was running around, naked. Well, Leonardo would be the first one to ask, well, why is the emperor naked? Why is this a problem? Can he not find his clothes? Where are his clothes? I mean, and it seems like a simple concept, but as assistants, I think it's crucial and it's critical. Asking the right question is essential to getting to the heart of these types of issues, whether it's, building that partnership with our executive, the privatization issue, which I know if many of these assistants out there are supporting more than one assistant, more than one executive. Try and practice some of this Da Vincian question answering, question asking, and try and questions to your executives, right? Help me to understand, what your expectations are as far as their priorities. How one executive approaches their priorities is completely different than how another executive approaches. And that's up to the assistant to think about that in a new and strategic way to help foster that, but not just, like we talked about earlier, not just ignoring it, shutting down, staying away, procrastinating. Embrace the creative tension and deal with it. Exactly like what you just said. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, wonderful. I know there's even more on that topic, but we're going to move on to the next one because I know you wanted to educate our audience and me today about systems thinking.
I love this. I love this. Yeah. Leonardo was a genius when it came to making the connection between and recognizing and appreciating the interconnectedness of all things. There's a great, let me see if I can find it here. There's a great example from his to-do list where he's just constantly, for example, his to-do list, show how clouds form and dissolve. How does water vapor rise from the earth to the air? How do mists form and air thickens? And why does one wave seem more blue than another? And I've been to the ocean a lot, and I've noticed that before, but I've never thought to really stop. Well, why is one wave more blue than another, How get on the trees? And so he takes that a step further, and in the handout, let's see what page, where is that? Yes, okay, so there's a great exercise here that maybe we could, spend a few minutes talking about. And if you think about how organizations today, focus on this whole idea of total quality, and, they're switching to being learning organizations, that's very much a connessione, as Da Vinci called it, approach to building organizations and this whole idea of systems thinking. So we can develop those powers by doing this little exercise. So let's take a look at this. So in other words, what connections can we make between an oak leaf and a human hand? So, and maybe we'll get some comments in the, so think about that for a minute. Yeah, so what is the connection? Look at your hand and then think of, I'm looking at my hands, and then think of an oak leaf. What's the connection? What are the similarities? Joan?
Veins. Well, I have these lines, and here's veins, and I guess a leaf has like veins. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the first thing I saw.
Yeah, even almost the same shape, right? With the way an oak leaf, has the. I don't have an oak leaf in front of me, but
How
absolutely.
about my hands are wrinkled like an oak leaf.
See, you're thinking like Da Vinci already. I love it. I love it. And that's how Da Vinci thought. Here's a great example before we go to the next one. He was developing. He was also a very prominent sculptor, and he was a designer, and he was helping this one particular man build a staircase in his home in Florence, Italy, and he had been out in nature a couple of months before, and he had noticed the spiral shape of a conch shell, and he connected it. He approached, and he thought to himself, "Wow, a spiral conch shell. That is how we have spiral staircases today."
Oh, wow!
It's completely a Da Vincian approach to connecting something in nature to a design, and that's how he developed the whole idea of spiral staircases. Wow. Okay, so I know it's amazing. I can't can't wait to meet Leonardo da Vinci. All right, so let's do the next one. So what connections can we make between a bowl of minestrone soup and the United States?
Let's see. What page? Can I ask what page we're on in the handout?
It is the very last page. Right in the middle, under Connessione. It's my last page, anyway.
Your last page.
Under Connessione. And I'm looking at some of these comments.
Page 5. Okay, so that's page 5 in their handout.
I love some of these comments that people are talking about as far as the connections. It's awesome.
A bowl of minestrone
I love it.
soup in the United States.
Yeah. So oh wait, here's I can't keep up with them, but some of these are really good. Variety of content, made up of many components, like the diversity of people. Yeah. When you think of a bowl of minestrone soup, what do we think about? What do we see when we're eating a bowl of minestrone soup? We think of different shapes, different colors, all different types of vegetables, right? And so when we connect that, use the Da Vincian, interconnectedness, the connessione, and we connect that with the United States, there's what? There's a diversity of people. There's so many different, colors and shapes, and yeah, it's fascinating. Lots of different ingredients, different flavors, different mixtures, textures. I love that one.
That's a good one. Yes. Yum.
Oh, I love this one. It takes it all to make it good. Oh my gosh, that is an awesome connection. Way to be a Da Vinci thinker. That was terrific. We must shine through the darkness. Variety, different texture, culture, diversity. Yeah, those are great. Oh, many things make one whole good. Yeah, exactly. And this is what is so fun about the way that Da Vinci thought. And see, I'm just getting all excited about it, just reading all of this. So let's look at the next one. What connections can you make? This is sort of an easy one, but what connections can we make between juggling and our career? So, Joan, what do you think? What's the connection between juggling and our career?
Oh, keeping all the balls up in the air. But I guess I'm thinking more job-wise, as part of my career that I have to keep all these different projects and tasks and everything moving and going, you know, all the time. So that was the first thing that came to my mind, because that's something too I like to talk about, the juggling, you know, all our tasks and projects and priorities.
Yep, yep. And then sometimes I thought about this, I took it a little step further. So sometimes even the best jugglers, sometimes a ball drops. But what do? Do they just leave the ball on the ground? No. They pick it up and they start again. And you know, and so you know that's important. So I'm looking at some of
they
these
have a
now.
lot of answers.
Yeah, it's so fun. I'm so excited for all of you to be thinking. Yes, everyone needs, including your own. Well, you know what, Joan? That's an interesting one, because, and I saw somebody talk about as women, and I didn't see the rest of it, but you know, yes, I mean, I think as life in general, right? We have home, our families, you know, maybe we have, you know, family members with health issues, whatever it is, we can feel like we're just juggling so many things at one time. But on the other hand, Da Vinci would approach that as, that's not, we shouldn't look at that as a bad thing, but instead realize that there's a connection. And I had just never really thought about it that way before, but we can feel overwhelmed sometimes with all the different things that we have going on in this whole notion of work-life balance. And I know that you feel a lot the same way, Joan, that it's virtually impossible to give 100% to everything that we're doing. It's impossible. So that's why for me there's really no such thing as work-life balance. It's more about living life and focusing on the things that we need to focus on at the time we need to be focused on them. And that's how Leonardo would approach that type of thing, which is one of the reasons why he was such a genius. You know, in the workplace, definitely we can incorporate these initiatives to connect the dots, you know, between what we're doing in our department to what's going on in the organization as a whole. A lot of times assistants don't feel like their contributions are making a difference. You know, they're sitting at a cubicle and they're doing their thing every day, and they don't have a connection to how what they're doing relates to the bigger picture. So it's really important for us to think about this, because everything that we do, no matter where we are in the organization, if we're approaching it from a Connessione, Da Vincian type mindset, is important. And that will change our attitudes. For those assistants that are really struggling with, you know, their attitude towards their work, think about that concept, and maybe go back and do a little homework on your company's mission and values. Know how you're supporting those, right? Know how you're supporting your organization's mission and values. I know at Dignity Health, where I am, that's a huge part of our, I mean, we have VPs of mission integration at every hospital, so that it's ensured that the mission and values of the Sisters of Mercy is being integrated throughout every aspect of the organization in how we do things. And so I think as assistants, no matter where you are in the world, Costa Rica, I mean, they're from all over here, right? Ohio, everywhere. That this whole notion of connecting the dots is important, whether it's in our personal life, work life, all of it. It's more about understanding the relatedness between the things, as opposed to fighting, oh my gosh, I'm a working mom and I don't spend enough time with my kids, and I'm you know, that will just cause more and more and more tension. Better to embrace it and start asking the questions. That's how Da Vinci would approach that.
So this is a really good topic, because the connecting the dots, I know one complaint I have heard from executives the past several months who have brought me in for training high-level assistants. This one thing they tell me is my assistant does not connect the dots. She needs to connect the dots. And you know, in studying the brain, and I delving into it deep, and you know about this thinking styles and such, Lisa, we know that some people's brains just function where they naturally can connect the dots. It's just how their brain works. Other people, and I've seen assistants who they really cannot connect the dots. You have to spell everything out for them. So let's say we have some people out there today who it's not in their DNA to naturally, I mean, one, we know we need to do that. Assistants need to do that. So one is to become conscious and aware and say, you know what, even if I'm good at this, I still need to do more of it. But what about for maybe assistants who truly, this is a stretch for them? Any clues or ideas what they can do to help get themselves going on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the things that I did early on in my career, and I still do it, my executives' email or desk or whatever as information or an initiative or a summary of something. I'm reading that. I'm going to copy that or forward it to myself, and I'm going to spend some time reading that because I have just set up a meeting. She's asked me to set up a meeting with 5 people regarding that topic. That's the subject line. Great. Okay. I better find out, and a connecting the dot assistant would be the one that would take that time to read the summary, right? To when that information comes across your executive's desk, don't just plop it in the appointment. Open it and read it and become familiar with the bigger context of what that meeting is all about that you just spent half an hour, you know, sometimes longer, right? Scheduling. To me, that is a key because that way you're able to then immediately say after that meeting, okay, now in my case, my executive's name is Lori. I would be able to go back to Lori and say, Lori, I noticed the discussion was centered around, you know, this key initiative. Sounds like you might need a follow-up meeting. And she's going to look at me and go, whoa, how did she know that? How did she know that I would need a follow-up meeting? Because I took 15 minutes to read the information. That to me is a first step. Is to really get in that habit of, you know, knowing the key initiatives and the scope. You've talked about that in World Class, really understanding the scope of what your executive is doing. Why are they working on the things that they're working on? Why are they having you schedule these certain meetings? We have to understand that as assistants. So I think that's a first step. That's a first step.
Idea. I like that idea because, you know, the more I know for me when I was an assistant, the more exposure I had and the more exposure to knowledge and information, then you can, like you said, kind of connect the dots. You could say, oh yeah, this relates to what I read over there. And yes. I think a big hurdle today is assistants aren't exposed to enough information like we were years ago because executives are independent and they manage a lot of information by themselves. They send their emails. Everything used to cross our desk before.
Right.
So for me, I believe an assistant also needs to take the initiative to get the information.
Yes.
You know, again, to not say, well, my executive doesn't share, so how can I connect the dots? Another step, too, they've got to take the initiative, correct?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And again, if we're thinking about this in the way that Da Vinci would approach that, I love that. I love that point right there, Joan, is yeah, me all the information. What would be the Da Vincian, you know, question that an assistant might ask to get to the next step of that process, right? Not to just go, oh well, I guess I'm just not going to get the information I need. Yeah. You know, I'll just go have a Diet Coke and a candy bar and you know, call it good. I don't know what I'm going to do. No, you know, if you want to get to that next level of thinking and That's where you have to really take time to incubate and ask yourself, okay, I'm not getting the information I need from my boss. How or what or why or what am I not doing or what am I missing or what am I not seeing? And then get yourself prepared before you have the conversation with your boss. In other words, you certainly don't want to go in and have a conversation like, you're not giving me the information I need. Okay, not really a good professional way to have that type of assertive conversation, right? No, taking initiative is about doing a lot of the pre-work yourself, right, so that you are well prepared to show them, you know what, George, it would really benefit me and our partnership, and I'd be able to do much more for you if I was a, you know, yada yada yada. And that requires some incubation, as Da Vinci called it, right? That requires that thinking time to be able to be prepared to do that. Taking initiative is more than just, you know, waltzing into your executive's office and demanding that things be done differently. That's not initiative. That's stupidity. that's like not being smart, right? No, taking initiative starts with centering yourself and figuring out the problem statement on your own, and then having the assertiveness and the proactiveness to go in and have that conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, this is so good. I know we could talk for another hour on this.
I know.
I'm watching the time, and I know we go on to definitely get to people's questions because I think there are several. So, are you okay moving on to the question?
Absolutely. Yes, I know somebody was asking about the 100 questions that's on the handout. So I don't know, Jazz, if you want to start with that one, because I wanted to make sure I explained that. The 100 questions. I don't know where that one was, but anyway.
I believe that your 100 questions exercise is on page 2 of the handout. So your curiosity principle for Da Vinci, if you want to explain that one a little bit more.
Absolutely.
We did give them some space to do that exercise on their own.
Okay, great. Yes. So what this comes out of Da Vinci's Curiosita principle. And so what this is all about is making a list of 100 questions that are important to you, and they can be any type of question as long as it's something that you deem significant. In other words, I would not put a question like, why don't I want to climb Mount Everest? Well, that is not a significant question. I have no desire to climb Mount Everest, never will, no reason to. So you do the entire list in one setting, and you write quickly, and you don't worry about spelling, grammar, or repeating yourself. And I have to tell you that this would be a great exercise if any of you are bullet journal people. That's where I keep my 100 questions, is in my bullet journal. And then what you do, and don't worry about recurring questions or overlapping, you just write them out. So when you're finished, you read through that list, and you sort of see what themes emerge. And you don't judge the themes. You just kind of start clustering, you know, what questions are the same. Are most of my questions about my business life, or are they about, you know, why I can't take enough vacations? Are they about financial? You know, maybe break them down into, you know, Joan's 5 pillars. You could break them down into the pillars. Anyway, then from there you kind of focus on your top 10 questions. And you just want to choose 10 that seem the most significant to you. And so I've done this in a lot of different workshops, and so I've listed a couple of examples of some of the questions that have popped up in this session. When am I most naturally myself? What is one thing I could start doing, stop doing, or do differently that would most improve the quality of my life? I love that one, and I think doing the start, stop, continue exercise is a great exercise, and I'll talk more about that at the session at the conference. What's my greatest talent? Who are my most inspiring role models? Well, out of today, right, who's one of our most inspiring role models? Say it all with me. Leonardo da Vinci, right? What is my heart's deepest desire? I love this next one. How am I perceived by my closest friend, my worst enemy, my boss, my children, my coworkers? Very insightful questions, right? So the exercise is just a way to really kind of help us to get inside of ourselves and really start to understand how we process the world. And I know for me, when I've done this exercise, it really allows me the opportunity to get recentered with everything. Because a lot of my questions are about my work life. You know, we spend, what, 97.7% of our time, right, at the office or working. And it's important that we ask a lot of those questions about that. So that's essentially what that exercise is all about. So I hope that you will do it. Somebody I noticed asked about the bullet journal. Some of you probably are. Yeah, look, someone just said here, Joe Marie just says, look it up on Pinterest. There's all kinds of great ideas about it. But, you know, for example, this is, you know, one of my pages here. Just, you know, I can do it, and I have little design, and this is where my 100 questions are, and my top 10 questions. So bullet journaling is I know Joan is a huge advocate for journaling, and it's important. So I hope that helps explain the 100 questions.
It definitely does. And then there's another question. Did you see Barbara's question about how often?
You know what, Barbara? As often as you want. I mean, there's no right or wrong about coming back to it whenever you want. Add it to it. Make it 200 questions. It's your exercise, but it can be really powerful and open up some wonderful ways to, as Da Vinci did, think about your world differently and start connecting those themes.
And earlier, Lisa, you talked about incubation time.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of students were wondering when you were talking about that, if they're not accustomed to taking that incubation time, how do they train themselves to do that?
Oh, that's a great question, Jasmine. You know, I started putting notes on my computer and reminders, actually, and there's apps that you can get that will actually remind you. You can set up a time, and it will remind you, okay, it's time to deep breathe, it's time to take a break, it's time to get up and go do something, take a walk. So I use that, actually. It pops up on my phone every day at 2 o'clock. But I also have notes on my computer, just little, and talk about revolutionary. I digress. But let's just talk Post-its. Talk about revolutionary. What is a Post-it? A Post-it is what? Paper
with glue.
I mean, come on. So talk about revolutionary. I can't live without my Post-its. But all it is just paper with a little glue on it, gals and guys. So we can be revolutionary thinkers. It doesn't have to be, you know, super grand. Anyway, I would say start small with just some little reminders on your desk with a happy face or a motivational quote that just says, hey, you're worth it. Go take a walk. You know, it's because at the end of the day, think about how you feel at the end of the day when you don't do that. If I have gone a whole day super glued to my chair, lunch at my desk, I've not moved from my desk, you know, I don't feel well. I don't feel, and then all I want to do is go home and continue that process on my couch. I don't want to do anything, but I find that and this is so true, I find that if I take that incubation time, even if it's 2 or 3 times throughout the day, I am more inclined at the end of the day to tell myself, yes, I'm ready to go swim my laps. I've taken up swimming. I'm ready to go swim my laps. I'm ready to go to the gym. I'm ready to eat healthy. It's a mindset. It's a great question, and I would just say, don't talk yourself into doing it. You know, give yourself reasons to want to do it, and notice how you feel at the end of the day when you don't give yourself that incubation time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa, for sharing that. It's email free, but what I do is I give myself a sticker. I give myself a sticker every day that I do that good thing, whether it's taking the walks or doing some exercise when I get home. And then I'm very motivated visually by my progress, and so when I look at the week or the month and I see that progress of those stickers on most of the days, I'm even more motivated to keep the trend going and keep doing that.
And you know what? That would be a great little tracking thing to put in a bullet journal. Like right now, you could track your incubation. We should all do that, you know, track your incubation and do a cute little, you know, I have a graph right now of some of the Jones pillars and where I am on each of those, and I color code where I feel like I am. And you could do the same thing with your incubation, right? And every day, color in the box if you gave yourself some incubation time. I love that idea, Jasmine. Yeah, reward yourself. Absolutely.
That is a great challenge. Awesome. Okay, and then I know you talked about backward goal setting and mind mapping. If you could dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and that'll be something that we'll be talking about at the conference. Da Vinci had a great method for goal setting. He worked backwards, and probably another 20 minutes to probably go into the whole process. But essentially, it's more about looking at the big picture of things and then asking yourself the questions and working backwards to get to the real crux of the strategies and the smaller things that you want to do to help you get to that place. In other words, I have a tendency sometimes to, you know, say I'm going to eat an apple every day. Okay, well that's great, but why do I want to eat an apple every day? And if I don't understand and start with the bigger picture and visually see that, then it's going to be harder for me to keep that goal for myself. That's a simplistic example. But he used, and I know Joan's done this a couple of times, I think, at one of the world-class sessions. You do the mind mapping, and you put an idea and then just have them, you know, tentacle off of that. And you can do that. It's a great way to start the process of backward goal setting, is to start with a mind map. And so I'll touch on that a little bit more at the conference. And if anybody wants more information about that, they can email you, Jasmine, and you can, you know, pass that on to me, and I'm happy to share that information with the listeners, with the attendees. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then I know we're getting close on time. I'm sorry, Joan, were you trying to say something?
No, I was just going to say in their handout on page 6, there are bullet points that have to do with the backward goal setting. So
great.
Hopefully that will help.
It's a start. Yeah, it'll help them get started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and then I know we're getting close on time, so I want to share with everyone. Well, thank you, Lisa, for your insight today. I know this was a fantastic topic, and we saw a lot of that in the comments that the assistants who logged in today were really getting a lot of great information from your session, your sneak peek at what you're going to be talking about at conference this year. And, of course, we would love for you to join us at the annual conference for Administrative Excellence. We were getting really close on seats, so we worked with the hotel, the Delano in the Mandalay Bay, where we're having the event this year, and they were able to adjust our room, move us to another room so that we actually have more space, more seats, so we can accommodate you if you are still interested in attending. And if you're one of those who just absolutely hate that you can't come to the event this year, we have a solution for you. It is our Conference on Demand option, and it is really great quality video, fully edited by our excellent AV team, and that is released about 3 weeks after conference, so it'll be available probably early November, and you'll be able to watch most of the sessions. We have a session that won't be included in that, but you'll be able to watch most of the sessions, and you will be able to view those as often as you like and for as long as you like. They don't expire, and it comes complete with the handout that our live event attendees receive as well. So we have both options. The live event's still available, and the Conference on Demand is available. And our webinar administrator, it looks like, just put that in the comments for us, where you can find the on-demand option. Of course, you can always go to OfficeDynamicsConference.com for all of the event details. Lisa's one of our great speakers. We also have, if you've been attending our webinars, Darren Martin will be there talking about embracing an ownership mentality. Peggy Vasquez will be there talking about developing your inner circle. We have Kamisha Foley, who will be joining us for the first time this year. Of course, Joan Burge is going to be there speaking. So we have just a lot of really wonderful information coming your way. And of course, Joan and I and the team here at Office Dynamics are super excited because conference is one of our favorite events of the year, and it's our chance to really get to see the majority of you all in one place. Joan, do you have anything you want to add in for our, oh, and you know what, I do have an offer really quick. If you do purchase our on-demand for the next 2 weeks, we have an extended offer that you will receive our on-demand library. So that's 2012 conference all the way through 2016 conference. So that's 4 conferences with the addition of your purchase of 2016. So that's a lot of sessions, a lot of information, and I believe the rate for that is $4.99. So that's a lot of information that I just threw away, and I will be sure to follow up with an email. But Joan, anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off today?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, well, first of all, thank you so much, Lisa. This was
you're so welcome.
an amazing topic, and I can't wait for a conference to hear what else you're going to share
will be,
with us.
yeah, it'll be a little bit more, and
us.
we will be definitely investigating Mona Lisa a little bit more. So look forward to that. Yes, yes.
And also for our attendees, great news if you are coming to conference, because Lisa's going to be there the whole time with us. She's just not going to speak and then leave. So you could pick her brain.
Yes.
Well, maybe not. She's going to help MC this year for us, so we're excited about that.
Very exciting.
But yes, if you are coming to conference, you will have a lot more time and exposure to
yes,
Lisa Olson.
Yes. Come up, find me and meet me, and we'll talk Da Vinci. Absolutely,
good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. There's just some amazing assistants, and I just have such a passion for the career and everything that Office Dynamics is doing to enhance the career, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to get together virtually like this and share these wonderful ideas. It's just been fabulous.
Good. Thank you, and we will see you soon. And thank you, everyone, for attending today. Be sure you put the date on calendar for September. I don't know if I even know the date. I mean, I know we have a date for September. What's our topic going to be? We have a really good topic. Let me see.
Oh, it is Don't Let Fear Sink Your Career, and I believe that should be available on our OfficeDynamics.com/webinars page, and we'll be sending out the auto invites to the people that auto subscribe to the webinars. That'll be going out shortly. So
that's a great follow-up topic to today, right? As far as the creative tension, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? So great follow-up topic.
Good. Well, have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jasmine, for doing an awesome job.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jasmine.
Lisa.
Thanks, Joan. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. And
have
for
a great
the people
day.
that are asking here, yes, we will send a replay. That'll be out shortly. And certificates will be available emailed to those who watched live and the replay within the first 24 hours. If you're watching the replay after the first 4 hours of this webinar, please email our staff to get your copy of your certificate of attendance. Thanks for attending. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks. See you later.